Oh boy, March. Soon, after Harada shared this intimate moment, we learned that Nagakura's friend, Haga, was forming a group known as the Seikyo Corps, serving as his chief. Both Nagakura and Harada were offered to serve within his ranks as commanders. Although barely any time had passed since they said farewell to all of their closest comrades, Harada and Nagakura were working to carve a new life for themselves, forging a path that was more closely aligned with their morals and beliefs.
So ろそろ飲み屋が開く頃か。羽賀さんのとこにでも行ってくっかな。佐野ももちろん一緒に来るんだろ。
いや、今日は気が乗らねえし、やめとくぜ。昔なじみ同士の会話に割り込むのもなんだしな。
佐野、最近付き合い悪いよな。もしかして女でもできたのか
？Woman, you say? Nagakura's question was innocuous. There we go, that's the word. Nagakura's question was innocuous, but I couldn't help but cower nervously from off to the side. I reached my hand over my chest where I felt my heart pound restlessly, and I blushed. Harada, on the other hand, snuck a playful glance in my direction before answering Nagakura. Ooh.
まあな、いるよ、最高の女が。
Harada was beaming as he answered with pride. This boy.
なんだって、適当に言ったつもりなのに本当だったのかよ。どんな女だ。
さあな。
なんだよ、隠すことねえだろ。やっぱあれが俺に内緒でこっそり色町に通い詰めてたとか。それとも近所の可愛い女の子でも口説いたか。くそー、色男は得だよな。
シンパチ、お前がモテねえのはどうしてか教えてやろうか。近くにいるやつの仕草とか態度とか、そういう細かいもんを見過ごしちまうからだよ。
え？なんだよそれ。どういう意味だ？
やっぱ分かってねえか。まあいいや。とりあえず今日は留守番しててやるから、好きなだけ飲んできたらどうだ。
もうそんじゃ行ってくるからな。今日も朝まで飲んでくると思うから先に寝ててくれていいぜ。
Nagakura skipped out of the room merrily, whistling as he anticipated the full evening of shenanigans ahead of him.
あいつやっぱり分かってねえぜ。トンカンもあそこまで行くと見事なもんだな。お前がこんだけ分かりやすい態度をとってるってのに。
Harada mentioned it so nonchalantly, but earlier when he called me quite the lady, I couldn't help but blush, and I instinctively looked away in order to deflect attention from myself.
なあ、千鶴。なんで顔真っ赤にしてんだ？
Because it's obvious, isn't it? I mean, after everything you just said.
あんなことって最高の女ってやつか？俺は思ったままを言っただけだぜ。
He knows exactly what he said, too. I know that, but hearing it said right in front of me is something that I'm unfamiliar with. I can't help being shy. We got another one already, holy crap. Suddenly I felt Harada's thick arms wrap themselves around my narrow shoulders. I gotta learn to speak, man.
恥ずかしいだけか？
Harada's face was nestled in my neck. As he drew me in closer, his breath tickled me from my ear down the length of my spine, and his whisper coaxed me into a soothing trance. My cheeks, like moments before, flared up. Huh?
さっきの言葉を聞いた感想だよ。恥ずかしかった。ただそれだけだったのか。
Harada beguiled me with his cool, seductive voice, and I gasped as the feeling of his mouth meeting my ear made me shiver in his strong arms. My face became more and more red as I found myself captivated by his mere presence. If I were to gaze in a mirror, I was sure that my cheeks were blushing more than they ever had before.
答えてくれねえとずっとこの体勢のままってことになるがいいのかな。正直に言うと俺はそれでも全然構わねえんだが。
Harada smiled impishly as his arms tightened forcefully around my fragile body. I leaned against his chest, feeling his heart pound against the small of my back, and suddenly I was wholly taken by this unknown sensation. So too did my heart begin to pound furiously. All of this was so foreign to me. Why had I felt so hot all of a sudden, but also natural, as if giving voice to instincts of which I had been unaware? I began to shrink into myself, and I answered Harada timidly, keeping my gaze fixed to the tatami below. It made me so happy. Happier than you could imagine. Harada chuckled smugly, patting the top of my head lightly with his hand.
ちょっと外に出てみるか。まだ寝るには早いしな。
He finally loosened his hold of me. Although the sun had just set, many of the shops had closed early, and only a few stragglers wandered nearby. The streets were conspicuously quiet, making me a little nervous as Harada and I walked together. Edo citizens were understandably concerned with the impending war with the Imperial Army, which led to many choosing to shut in for safety's sake.
もう3月だってのに今日は妙に冷えやがるな。
You're right. It may have been better for us to wear our coats out tonight. Oh wait, hold on. Harada suddenly stuck his arm out to me, grinning suggestively as he offered me his hand.
手貸せよ。繋いでやるから。その方があったかいだろう。
What? No, it's okay.
俺が繋ぎてんだよ。いいからほら。
Without waiting for my answer, Harada grabbed a hold of my hand abruptly, clasping it tight. Harada's Western attire was strange enough to attract the stares of any passerbys, but for us to hold each other's hands so boldly in the street was another statement entirely. Every now and then, some of the pedestrians we'd pass glanced at us peculiarly. Harada, however, seemed completely unbothered, wearing a smile from ear to ear as we walked. From the corner of my eye, I saw a mother walking with her child in our direction out of a bathhouse. Harada gazed kindly at the small child, whose tiny hand was wrapped precautiously around his mother's finger as he bounced up and down.
なあ、千鶴。お前、子供は好きか？
Why, yes. I like children quite a bit.
もし俺とお前の子供が生まれるとしたら、男と女どっちがいい？
His question completely blindsided me, Harada proving once more that he had mastered the art of making me blush. Although we had finally confided in one another about our true feelings, hearing him address our relationship so bluntly was an adjustment, one I had been bashfully learning how to navigate. I'd want a boy.
そうか？最初は女の方が育てやすいって聞いたことがあるんだが。まあ女の場合、手塩にかけて育ててもいずれよその男に取られちまうしな。そう考えたら男の方がいいかもな。
My reasons for wanting a son were a little different from what Harada had been suggesting. But even so, it warmed my heart that we could openly discuss our future, and more importantly, that Harada valued my say in the matter. I took solace in how beautiful this moment felt. So, when the war finally ends, where would you like to settle down, Harada? Do you think you'd want to return to the village where you grew up, Iyo? Iyo no Kuni, Harada's town of origin. It later became known as the Aichi Prefecture.
いや、あそこにはいい思い出もたくさんあるが、嫌な思い出も山ほどあるからよ。
Alright, so now going back home.
イオに戻るよりは、そうだな。海のそばで水平線を眺めながら暮らしてえかな。
Nah. The horizon? Harada tilted his head towards the darkening sky, speaking placidly as he gazed upwards.
新選組を出ることになった時、思ったんだ。
Oh, now I know why that sounds familiar, because that's the ending from Saito's. That's where we think Harada ended up. Somewhere far away on a goddamn horse. Near the water.
俺は土方さんみてえにでかい荷物を背負い込んで生きてはいけねえ。あんな風には絶対になれねえって。守るものはこの両腕に収まるものだけで十分だ。思想だなんだって七面倒くせえもののために戦うのも性に合わねえ。世の中もっと単純でいいんじゃねえかと思うんだ。絶対に失いたくねえものってそう多くはねえんだからな。
Harada.
とはいえ、お前にそんな不便なところは嫌だって言われりゃ考え直さなきゃならねえけどよ。
Harada's answer was totally unexpected. What could I even say in response? I agree with you. I agree with you. Living somewhere in isolation with Harada, away from the petty conflicts waged between the shogunate and the imperial army, seemed so appealing. It was all I could ask for, really.
そっか。お前が賛成してくれるならそれで決まりだな。将来は海のそばで二人で暮らすんだ。余計なことなんて何も考えずにな。
Harada and I clasped our hands tightly around one another, locking our fingers together. Hi. I nodded resolutely. Although much of what we were discussing was easier said than done, especially given the social climate, placing my faith in Harada was the easiest part of it all. That was a firework, if you could hear it. Some time ago, Harada sheepishly described to me what he considered to be his ideal life. A life with a family, spent with a woman that he loves, with whom he could raise a family in comfort. By spending the rest of my life with him, I was committing myself to making his dream a reality. As the constellations above us dazzled brilliantly, I whispered a silent promise made to myself. Oh, it's April. Oh, it's April! We had long anticipated, the Imperial Army had arrived at Edo, its legions of soldiers occupying the outer perimeter to prepare for a large-scale assault. Unlike Kyo, Edo had the advantage of falling in the direct jurisdiction of the shogun. Lord Yoshinobu was all but deified by his citizens. Tensions were reaching their limits, and it wasn't long before all-out violence broke out between the Imperial Army and the Shogun's army of Bakushin. On April 11th, everything changed. After a scheduled diplomatic negotiation between the Sacho and the Shogunate was ordered to yield Edo Castle over to the Imperial Army without any resistance. Following directly afterwards, all of the Sekisho surrounding Edo were shut down by the Imperials. If you don't know what a Sekisho is basically a entry point, a checkpoint, to check who you are and see if you're allowed in Edo or not, or you're a criminal, whatever that is. This severely hindered our ability to move in and around the city, giving us no chance but to remain within its borders until the occupation had ended.